All right, welcome back to the K&L Sports Huddle. Both guys here for this episode. I'm back from my honeymoon. It was a lot of fun, but it's nice to see you again, Logan. How you doing, man?
Doing great, doing great. How was the trip?
It was great. We got to, the Caribbean is just, beautiful scenery, but we got to horseback ride, go on a cruise, snorkel in between some mountains. So pretty cool experience. But I think by the last day, it's like okay, it's a beach. We're eating at these same restaurants.
That's
We're
every
we were
beach
ready to
trip for
leave
me.
by
Yeah,
the end
that
of
is
it.
every beach trip for me. Yeah, it's you look forward to it, and once you're there, you're happy. But when it's time to go, you're usually ready.
Yeah, and listen, I got to listen to your solo outing. Um, the one day we had just a full on beach day. You killed it, man. Great job last week. It was pretty cool to listen to you kind of argue with yourself. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, did my best. Definitely would have tweaked some things if I could go back in time. Yeah, I did the best I could, but I was glad we were glad to receive your picks.
Yeah, and it didn't work out too well. Probably because I
No,
didn't watch too much football that week, and so it was kind of just trying to get those picks in. Ended up going 5-10. So rough week. We're still on the positive, so we'll try to bounce back this week.
yeah, I didn't get a chance to congratulate on your previous week though. That you killed it that week,
That
10-4.
that was
That was
fun.
yeah.
And you said I'd come back tanner, but not gonna happen.
Not
I
good.
wasn't taking any chances down in the Caribbean. I lathered up in sunscreen, had an SPF shirt, safari hat, the whole 9 yards. So it's same old for me.
I was gonna say you do look pretty similar. Like you never left the state.
Yep. Well, let's get to it. We actually haven't missed the cut, so take it away, Logan.
Yes. AP poll just came out for college basketball. The preseason AP poll. Same with football. You don't really put too much stock into it, or I tend not to till the games start to play. But it turns out the Purdue Boilermakers are the number one team in the country according to the voters. Yeah, they're pretty much bringing their whole team back, plus some transfers they added uh, to fill in the gaps that they were missing last year, like a solid big to kind of do what Edie did. I know you can't really replace Zach Edie, but because Trey Kaufman-Reno was a good big, but I mean he was completely different than Edie, and he needed someone else with them up there. And they got Oscar Clough from South Dakota State, who was a double machine there. So yeah, they bring back Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, all those guys. So yeah, this is the first time ever they're preseason number one. Not really sure the history. I wonder who the last preseason number one to win the title was. Not have to look that up, but I don't think it's been a great track record as of late. So that does not bode well for Purdue. But yeah, that means basketball season's almost here. Uh, because not just that, the NBA tips off 1 week from today. We get our opener with the Thunder, Rockets, and Lakers and Warriors. I think LeBron will be out for that game, but yeah, NBA is returning on NBC on Tuesday, October 21st. So we are excited to see that. Like we've said before, we're not the biggest regular season fans on here. Fun to check stat lines, but to just sit and watch our NBA regular season games sometimes painful. But it'll be good to have basketball back and several storylines to watch this year. And we're looking forward to it to coincide with football, especially as baseball's wrapping up as well.
Yeah, some solid November matchups for college basketball. I know we got the Kentucky Louisville game. I think Duke and Kansas are playing each other next month. So you got some pretty solid matchups. We'll get to see AJ DeBonsa for BYU, the highly touted freshman. So it'll be interesting to see him in this first month of play. NBA wise, I felt like we just got done talking about the NBA finals, and now we're already starting up the next season. That's how grueling and how dragged out that playoff is for that sport. Because with baseball playoffs, I feel like we're already almost to the World Series, and it's flown by in a flash. So, yeah, NBA in its rightful place on NBC. So that'll be fun to get to see that back where it should be. Let's get into our NFL Week 7 picks. How did you do last week? I know mine was rough. Obviously, we know this, but
I
let's.
didn't do I didn't do much better. I was 7-8. Um, there were there were a couple picks that I made that you went opposite of me, and I was thinking, I don't know if he's I don't know if you were looking into it as close as what I thought you would, because I ended up getting those games right, and those you and I probably would have the same record. The It was the Brown Steelers game. I think you took the Browns, but I know you would have been big on if you would have realized the Steeler bye week against the Browns coming off a Europe trip with the backup quarterback.
Wasn't as prepared last week,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I needed
but
a week to bring me back down to earth.
yeah, that is true. Yeah, water finds its level, and I've been at level par this entire time. As my total is now at 47 and 46 overall.
There you go.
Batting, yeah, batting 500.
Yeah, it's currently at 53 and 40, I think, is where mine's sitting at. But yeah, rough week for myself. We'll try to fix that this week. But let's get into week 7. Just an overall overview of what's been happening in the betting landscape. It's been a rough start for public bettors this season. Teams with 60% or more of the tickets are 15 and 36 against the spread through 6 weeks. And underdogs are now 12, 9 and 1 straight up and 15 and 7 against the spread in night games this season. First time through 6 games, underdogs are over 500 straight up in prime time spots since 2002. So keep that in mind when you're making your prime time picks. But let's get it started with our first one. Thursday night football, Steelers at the Bengals. I was happy that the Bengals were able to cover that huge spread. I ended up picking that one. That was one of the few I got right from last week. But I don't feel great about them this week going up against a division rival. The Steelers have struggled on the road on Thursday night football. Under Tomlin, they are 2-8 straight up and 3-7 against the spread in those games, and they've lost 4 in a row, both straight up in ATS, with their last win coming back in 2016. But in his coaching career, Tomlin is 25, 11 and 1 against the spread versus the Bengals as a whole, by far his most profitable opponent. And as far as Zach Taylor, he's had to start a backup QB 20 times in Cincinnati, and he's 6-15 straight up, 9, 11 and 1 against the spread in those games. Joe Flacco was able to cover a huge spread last week, but again, with that O-line, he's a sitting duck, and I don't like him against the Steelers.
Yeah, that game went about as you would expect, that Packers-Bengals game, where that first half, Joe Flacco looked like he had just gotten there 3 days ago, which he had, because their offense was just stagnant. But eventually, second half, like you saw that Jamar Chase connection that a guy like Flacco could potentially develop. And yeah, keep in mind, Flacco has been in the AFC North for most of his career, so he knows all about facing Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. Right. It sucks that he barely got any practices before this game, before his first game, and now he's has another short week. But I'm actually taking the Bengals here at plus 5.5. I just think weird divisional game they're hosting. Flacco brings their floor higher than Browning did. I bet the Steelers win by a field goal or something like that, but I think that 5.5's too big for a divisional Thursday night game. And keep in mind, like last week, we had the Giants and the Eagles, and Eagles were heavily favored, and the Giants at home just dominated. Not saying it's going to happen this week, but that's what I'm predicting. But Steelers win, but Bengals cover. Okay, another London game. This one is by far the best on paper, though. Last week's game was awful. Normally you normally want an exciting game in the morning because it's those late afternoon games where you want to take your Sunday nap. That game was perfect nap material. Unfortunately, it was early in the morning, so by then you're already awake. But yeah, the Broncos barely beat the Jets. Here we got Rams-Jaguars, two teams with a winning record. Both have had highs and some lows this year. Particularly the Jaguars, they've been pretty inconsistent. They're coming off a loss to the Seahawks. I'm taking the Jaguars at +3. They have experience in Europe. They play there every year. And it looks like the Rams will be without Puka Nacua, which Matthew Stafford's having a fantastic year so far this year. But I think having no Puka will harm them a lot on the offensive side. They still have Devontae Adams, so watch out for that. And if the Jags aren't able to create any turnovers like they weren't able to last week, then the Rams should pull away from them easily. But I think without Puka, the Rams will face a little adversity in offense. Jacksonville might be able to take advantage a couple times, and they'll end up covering that +3 spread.
Yeah, the Puka injury is very impactful, and it seems like he gets injured almost every year. But this is the first overseas game for Jacksonville, and they are 7-6 straight up against the spread, including 4-3 straight up and against the spread as underdogs. They're basically the London Jaguars at this point. They're just the veterans at this overseas stuff, and favorites have excelled in overseas games, but this is a bet against the trend pick for that, and going with the veterans and the Jaguars with this London game. Saints at the Bears. We get our 1:00 games kicked off here with a good one. Bears have struggled on short rest under QB Caleb Williams. They've gone 0-4 straight up, and in the Bears' last 9 games, coming off a primetime matchup, they are 2-7 straight up. However, I'm not going to let that fool me into taking the Saints. As an underdog of under 10 points, Spencer Rattler is 0-8 against the spread in his career as a starter. And Rattler's 2 road starts in that spot, New Orleans was outscored 70-21. Fun fact, the Saints have actually beaten the Bears in 8 consecutive meetings dating back to 2008, which was the Bears' last win over New Orleans. In that span, 3 different Saints QBs have beaten the Bears: Derek Carr, Drew Brees, and Teddy Bridgewater. On the Bears side, Tyson Bagent, Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, and Jake Cutler have tried and failed, with Kyle Orton being the last Bears QB to beat New Orleans. But I'm going to pick Caleb to be the first one since Kyle Orton to beat the Saints here.
Yeah, frankly, the Saints' 2 performances on the road weren't inspiring, especially that Seahawks game. They did cover that super large spread against Buffalo, but they still lost by double digits. Yeah, I think the Saints have shown fight in most of their games this year. They're definitely not the worst team in the league, like I thought they would. Are they in the bottom 5? Absolutely, but they're not the worst. But nothing has shown that they can cover a 5.5 point road spread. Bears, coming off an emotional win, you could throw that in there that it might play down the competition because of that. But I don't trust the Saints on the road, so I'll take the Bears at -5.5. Bears are also 6-3-1 against the spread at home since last year.
You got them at 5.5. I got them at 4.5.
Yeah, I got them at 5.5.
It might be at 5 now.
Yeah. The Bears have been, even under Eberflus, like dating back to last year, they've been pretty good against the spread at home, so I think that trend will continue. Okay, game of the week, Dolphins-Browns.
Shoot me now.
Just kidding. Yeah, there's a couple of these kind of games, but there's so many weird things here. Tua, as we talked about before, is awful on the road compared to home. Browns' offense is a disaster right now. So what trend do you go with?
You stay away. That's what you do.
You stay away, yes, but because we're forced to do this, we have to pick. I'm going to go. I saw this at. I'd rather it be at 2.5. It rose to 3. I'm going to take the Browns. The Browns' defense has still been pretty good this year. So I could see them just absolutely wrecking Tua and the Dolphins and then setting up short fields for Gabriel to get a couple short drive scores in. And I could see the Browns, I see the Browns winning this and covering that 3 or 2.5 point spread. If it's at 3.5, I would for sure stay away from it, and I'd probably take the Dolphins. But at -3, I'm going to take the Browns.
Yeah, I saw it at 2.5, so I was
Which I'd
on
much
the
rather
bounce
have.
with this. This is really just a number play for me. I don't really trust Dylan Gabriel as the Browns QB. But this all has to do with that 2.5 number. Even at 3, like I'm feeling that's the safer pick. For the Browns, they just need to quit allowing so many sacks. Since the start of last season, they are 0-14 straight up when they allow 3 sacks or more. So just keep it under 3. On the road or neutral site, Tua is 13-20 straight up, including 1-8 straight up in his last 9 starts. You know how I feel about the Miami Dolphins. I am continuing that feeling through the rest of this season. I do not like the Dolphins, and against a really good defense, I definitely don't like them here. So definitely going
Yeah.
Browns 2.5.
The other thing about Gabriel, I thought Gabriel was fine in his first game. I hate. I mean, yeah, he played awful in the second game, but I mean that was his second career start, and he was coming from Europe to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh coming off a bye, he was set up for failure. I mean, I think I am curious to see how he performs against a bad defense. Uh, this will be this. I feel like this will be more telling in the Steelers game.
All right. Patriots at the Titans. We get the Mike Vrabel return to Tennessee to face his old team. An upset from the Titans here against the Patriots as above a 5-point underdog would be the biggest upset over the last decade for a new in-season head coach. As we know, head coach Brian Callahan was fired. I will not be putting hard-earned cash toward the Titans this week. Mike Vrabel against his former team. Give me a spirited performance from his crew to rub it in the face of this Titans organization in front of their home fans. I know it's a huge spread at 7 for a Patriots team, but we kind of talked about it during the Monday night football game with the Bills. You think it's the Patriots' division to lose in the AFC East. I think this is a game that they just have to win and that they have to make a statement win against a bad team.
I'm not even sure if the Patriots are good or not. It's just their schedule is one of the easiest schedules I've ever seen. Benefits that they were last place in their division last year, and they're playing the NFC South and somehow the AFC North, which no one really expected, but is somehow maybe one of the worst divisions in football. So many factors going into this. You have the Vrabel revenge factor, but I've always I don't know. I don't know how that goes. Like how much more? Like the players don't really. I don't know how much that impacts the Patriots players at all. I'm sure Vrabel wants to really get back at him, but how much does that impact the players? New coach, interim coach boost. That's an historic. Team fires their coach. They play really inspired their next game, and upsets sometimes happen. And this is also the Patriots' third straight road game, and I could just, I don't like betting the Titans, but I'm going to go opposite you. I'm going to take the Titans at +7. Patriots win, but I just think, interim coach boosts that helps, and plus the Patriots being on the road for the third straight time, they might be practically sleepwalking at times. So I could see this being unnecessarily close. I'll say that because the Patriots are clearly a better team than the Titans, but it could just be one of those sloppy games. Okay, Raiders Chiefs. Chiefs, last I checked, were 11.5-point favorites. Raiders had a bounce back win. Not that impressive. They beat the Titans at home. I still don't think the Raiders are a good team at all. And I know this is a big spread, but the Chiefs these last 3 weeks have looked more like themselves, other than them shooting themselves in the foot multiple times against Jacksonville. They're starting to look more like themselves again. And yeah, divisional game. We've seen the Raiders go into the Arrowhead in the past and play them close. Sometimes they even I've upset them in the past against Mahomes. I just don't see this happening. I think the Raiders are still a mess. I don't like this play, but I'm going to take the Chiefs with that big spread at -11.5.
Wow. I actually didn't expect that because Chiefs have lost 3 straight games against the spread versus the Raiders. And to me, this is the best Raiders team that they've faced since this streak started. With Geno Smith and
I don't know. They've
Pete
just been so
Carroll kind of just it feels like it might be just like a more solid group of guys than maybe they've had in the past. That it's not Aiden O'Connell, right, at quarterback.
Yeah, but I feel like something's dysfunctional this year though. Like last couple of years, they've just kind of been mediocre to bad, but something just seems off this year. I don't know.
Well, as a favorite of 6 points or more, Patrick Mahomes is 62-6 straight up, but only 29, 36, and 3 ATS in his career as a starter. As a favorite of above a touchdown, Mahomes is 13, 24, and 1 ATS. So this is a play that I usually like here, going against the Chiefs on a huge spread when they're favored. Obviously, when they're underdogs, you definitely bet them. But at 11.5, I do like the Raiders in this situation. Like you mentioned, they do play well in Arrowhead, and I think they can do that again. Eagles at the Vikings. So this one was really tough. Were you seeing this at 2.5? Because that's where I kind of landed on with this one. The Eagles have now lost 2 straight games at home against the Broncos, and of course the shocking loss on the road against the Giants last week on Thursday Night Football. Uh, Teams that are over 500 straight up who lose 2 straight are just 53, 68, and 5 against the spread. That's 44% in November or earlier since 2003. In addition to that fact, it hasn't been a great spot for Nick Sirianni as head coach of the Eagles either. When Philly is coming off a loss under Sirianni, they are just 7-14 against the spread in their next game. I'm going Minnesota plus 2.5 here. Of the 67 teams, 67 coaches since 2021, Sirianni is third worst profitable coach against the spread, coming off a straight up loss, ahead of just Brian Callahan and Matt Rule. The Vikings aren't really the team for the Eagles to get right. You know, you usually want to find like that get right game against like the Panthers or the Jets or the Saints. Give me Minnesota at home as underdogs, even at 2.5. I know this is kind of a scary line to get them at 2.5, but I'll take them here. I think Carson Wentz has done a decent enough job for them at QB with JJ McCarthy out.
Yeah, we're in agreement. If it somehow got to +3, hammer that. But yeah, I agree. 2.5 is a little sketchy, but yeah, you're right about the get right game because yeah, so their offense, something's funky with that right now, and the Minnesota defense is not really the defense you want to play when you're looking to get right, especially on the road. And yeah, that stat about Sirianni after a loss. It is kind of weird if you think about it because I think over these last 2 years, how they've been. Obviously, they start off 2-2 last year, then won all those games, and then the year before that, they started off really well, and then they had a bunch of losses in a row. So that's kind of what leads to that.
Kind of just snowballs for them.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll be looking to reverse that trend for sure, but I don't know if it's going to happen this week. I will agree with you and take the Vikings at +2.5. Okay, another great game. This one, Jets Panthers. Well, I should say Panthers at Jets. This game's it started off with the Jets as favorites, but it is now shifted. Last I saw, it was now Panthers at -1.5. I wrote this as my do not like game at all. So many weird things going into this. So the Panthers have won 2 in a row at home. They are 3-0 at home and 0-3 on the road. Rico Dowdle's been kind of came out of nowhere and run all over. The two defenses has faced. Unfortunately, those defenses were the Dolphins and the Cowboys, and there's a good chance that either you and I could run over those defenses as well. Jets, say what you want, how disastrous their offense is, but I mean their defense did show up last week, did everything they could to win that game against the Broncos. Jets are 0-6. You don't want to bet on 0-6 teams, but I also don't want to bet on the Panthers, who have not won as a favorite since September of 2021, when their quarterback was Jets legend Sam Darnold. So yeah, that was over 4 years ago. So what trend do I want to not partake in? I'm gonna take the Jets. I just think they have enough talent on the defensive side of the ball to pick up a win, to get their first win. I know Garrett Wilson's out, so their offense is probably still going to be ugly. but they are playing a Panthers defense that doesn't show up on the road, and their offense also doesn't show up on the road. So, yeah, I'm going to take the Jets to get their first win here and cover that 1.5-point spread.
Yeah, I could see this line continue to flip back and forth because it's just two bad teams. But the Jets at 0-6 straight up, teams that are 0-6 straight up or worse are actually 11-4 against the spread since 2020. A decent bet over the last few seasons. So I'm taking this now since they are the current underdog. The Jets at plus 1.5. But like I said, this could flip multiple times before Sunday because look, against non-divisional opponents, Bryce Young is 0-10 straight up on the road, losing by 14.5 points per game, 3-7 against the spread. So
as long as the Panthers are favorites, bet against them. Yeah, I mean,
right, exactly, that's exactly. All right, Giants at the Broncos. So we got a couple teams who are the two teams who have beaten the Eagles the last 2 weeks, facing off this week. The Broncos didn't look great in London, despite the win, scoring just 13 points, but nobody refocuses his team better than Sean Payton. After a road or neutral game, Denver is 8-3 straight up at home under Payton. Since 2011, his teams are winning over 70% of their home games in this spot, winning by almost 8 points per game. He's also 22-8 against the spread as a head coach after his team scores fewer than 14 points, which, mark that off, did that last week in their previous game, including 4-0 against the spread with the Broncos. So not letting a Giants win on Thursday Night Football against the division rival fool me. I am going to take the Denver Broncos at -7.
Yeah, I love the Broncos this week. Frankly, this is just the wrong defense to face in your second ever road start. Keep in mind, Jackson Dart's first road start was a double-digit loss to the New Orleans Saints, who, as we talked about earlier, are not a good team. Yeah, I think the Broncos offense also gets right here. Yeah, there's really not much to say here. If it somehow got down to 6.5, that would be amazing. 7.5, might not want to bet it, but at 7, I'll gladly take the Broncos because, yeah, I just don't. Until a rookie quarterback proves he can do it on the road, I'm not going to buy into it just yet. But I will say that was a great win by the Giants Thursday night against the Eagles. I don't know how long Jackson Dart and Cam Scadabo's careers are going to be if they keep playing football like that, but by golly, it is fun to watch. Okay, I guess that was our first evening game, so we're in the evening slots now. Colts at Chargers. We have to bet this now, but this is an absolute wait to see on injuries because Chargers have numerous injuries, and the Colts also have injuries at in a key spot. But we'll bet it now. So this is basically a coin flip. Chargers are 1.5-point favorites last time I checked. I'm going to take the Chargers. And I will say, so what happened last week was I took the Colts at -6.5 because it got up to like 6.5.
Yeah.
And then got to 9.5 once Brissett was announced that he was starting. But then once the Colts' number one corner went out 90 minutes before the game, I immediately went and bet the Cardinals to cover. So I'm going to give myself a loss on that from our records, but I knew as soon as you lose your number one corner, like right before the game starts, I mean, that just kind of throws away your whole defensive game plan going into the game. So, but if he is still out, I mean, I could see Herbert just absolutely torching this depleted Colts secondary. And the Colts injuries, this is one of the strangest injury seasons I've ever seen. So you have like the 49ers who like their whole roster's hurt, and you have other teams like the Buccaneers, they've lost a lot of skill positions. The Colts, this is the weirdest thing maybe the weirdest thing I've ever seen. They've been very healthy pretty much all year, except at one position. Their cornerbacks, like even their safeties have been healthy, but their cornerbacks, they've lost their starting. There's 3 starting cornerbacks going into the year they've gone down. The guy they signed right before the season started is retired now, and another guy they signed, Mike Hilton, he's on IR now. So they lost their backup too. So I believe they've had 6 cornerback injuries this year. And yeah, the guys they had thrown out throughout their last week were getting torched by Jacoby Brissett and the Cardinals' depleted receiving core. So yeah, I could see this being a really high scoring game because the Colts offense is elite right now. Like there's really no other way to put it. They're elite, putting up 30 points per game. So this could be a high scoring game, but I just think the Chargers defense is a little bit better than the Colts defense at the moment. So that's why I'm going to lean Chargers. But I might change it if we get weird injury news from either team.
Yeah, weird how the Colts injuries transpired. That they were before the game. It was Anthony Richardson and Travarius Ward that got injured. It's
Yeah.
so weird. But I'm actually going to go Indianapolis here. I have it at +1.5 for them right now. So for me, it's this O line for LA that has me concerned. Honestly, about look, you beat the Dolphins by 2. You got me worried right off the jump. But you know how I like trends. Coming back from Miami is never a fun thing for any team. Last decade, teams coming off a road game against the Dolphins are just 30, 41, and 3 against the spread in their next game, failing to cover the spread by over 2 points per game. Teams are 0-2 against the spread so far this season in this exact spot. Listen, the Colts are a damn good football team. They've surprised me this season, and I would say the whole state of Indiana is on a heater right now. Football fans in that state are in heaven at the moment, and I'm going to continue this Colts train because you mentioned the Chargers defense. They're probably going to be able to get more pressure on Daniel Jones, but this season Jones is 37 of 56 passing while under pressure. His
He was great
66
last week. Last week he was 100%
exactly.
completion percentage, and yeah.
His 66.1% completion percentage is the best mark in the NFL this season. So, loving what I'm seeing from Indiana Jones and this Colts team. So I'm gonna continue this against a place that really doesn't have much of a home field advantage in SoFi. All right, Commanders at the Cowboys. This is actually my favorite game of the week. So this one's looking right now. Cowboys +2.5 is where we're at with this one. Is what I'm seeing. Is it still 2.5 for you?
1.5 when I wrote it down earlier. So
Okay.
it's
Okay.
gone up to 2.5. Yeah.
All right. So the Cowboys have covered the spread in 7 of their last 8 games against the Commanders, including 4 straight covers at home and 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 versus Washington at home. Really, the story so far this season for Dallas is George Pickens, especially with CeeDee Lamb out. Pickens has a TD in 5 straight games, the longest streak for any player this season. In the first half of the season, Dallas's defense, though, we know how it's been. It's been getting torched. 7 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 117 passer rating with almost 75% completion percentage. This will be a great game. One of my most anticipated matchups for Week 7. I would maybe hammer the over on this. It could be actually what I was seeing is that it could reach the highest total mark for this season at 54, 54 and a half, something like that. But Washington has played well with Daniels at QB coming off short weeks. They've done well coming off of primetime games. I like Daniels and the Commanders to go on the road in Dallas and take this one. I have them at -2.5, but I would love it at -1.5, what you were looking at it as. But that's where I have it, mine.
Yeah, this one's interesting. I actually went Cowboys here. Like you mentioned, Dak and the Cowboys have been good against Washington. Dak's actually 10-3 in his career against the spread versus Washington. And if you recall with how great Washington was last year, the Cowboys and how bad the Cowboys were last year, the Cowboys played them well twice. They actually went into Washington and beat them. And then in that Week 18 matchup where the Cowboys had nothing to play for, the Commanders needed to play the whole 60 minutes to get that win. Yeah, I mean, the Dallas defense, they've shown nothing. They've had one good performance. That was against the Jets, and that really just said more about the Jets. And yeah, and this is one I could easily see going the other way. Like, I just see no issue going with Washington, but I'm just going to go Dallas. They've only played 2 home games this year. They beat the Giants in that crazy game. And then the Packers game, they tied that game. So I think they're playing better at home in a way. They're coming back off a 2-game road trip. So, yeah, I want to go Cowboys here, +1.5. Okay, the last evening game is the Packers at the Cardinals. Packers, last I checked, were 6.5-point favorites. Green Bay has had trouble covering spreads here the last several weeks, but I think they're going to be able to cover this one, mostly because I'm assuming the Cardinals will be starting Jacoby Brissett again. He will not have those passing numbers again, because I think most of that was due to the Colts secondary just suddenly just having no secondary. Green Bay's defense, I think, will be able to make Brissett look like how he did last year with New England. And keep in mind, the Cardinals have lost several skill guys. Harrison Jr. got a concussion last week, so he'll probably be out. James Conner's out. They're down to just a couple running backs who were probably their RBs 3 and 4 coming into the year. And both defenses are good. The Cardinals defense kind of had a letdown week last week, so I could see the Packers offense maybe struggling a little bit, but I could also just see the Green Bay defense just destroying this Cardinals offense, and I see them winning by a touchdown. So I'll take that at 6.5.
Yeah, with the line where it's at 6.5, that makes me believe that Brissett will be the starter. The books always have a little bit more insight than we do about things like this. But Matt LaFleur and the Packers have been a nightmare for backup QBs. LaFleur's teams are 16-2 straight up and 10-8 against the spread facing a backup QB. Plus, as we know, an Arizona lead in this game, if they get one, won't matter for Green Bay. Under Gannon, the Cardinals are 10-13 straight up when leading by 7 points or more at any point. I do like the 6.5 for the Packers to at least win by a touchdown. So I'm going Green Bay. I'm with you here.
I will say, all the Cardinals games have been close. Like, they lost 3 in a row, all on losing on a game-winning field goal, and then they lost by 4 last week. But I think the difference here is that those first 3 were with Kyler, and this one's going to be with Brissett, and he's actually going to face a legitimate secondary defense.
All right. Sunday Night Football. Why do the Falcons keep getting primetime games? I don't know.
They're fun to watch, but I don't know what they did in the offseason or last year to deserve these primetime games. Like, I'm puzzled too. I'm sure this will be a good game, but I don't.
Yeah, especially with all the injuries to San Francisco. They are 3-point favorites in this game. The last time I saw. Falcon
could be getting guys back. Purdy, Ricky Pearsall, and Kittle could all possibly come back this week. So
that's good news.
That's what they're banking on.
That's good news because I do have San Francisco at -3. It's not my favorite bet of the week, but here's a fun little thing you might not know. But only one San Francisco QB is above 500 against the spread at home in the last decade. Unless you've already read this stat, I bet you'll never guess it.
Decade, so that goes back to 15. I guess it wouldn't be Jimmy G, would it?
No, it is Trey Lance at 2-0 against the spread.
The legendary 3rd overall pick, Trey Lance, yeah.
The Niners have the 2nd worst against the spread record at home since the start of the 2023 season. Obviously, Mac Jones came back down to earth last week after throwing a couple picks, and it's unclear whether Purdy will return, but I'm guessing it might be now or never at this point for the 49ers. It'd be a good spot for him to get the job back. But I am comfortable taking San Francisco, though, against a Falcon team that is very inconsistent. They took down Buffalo in convincing fashion last night in Monday Night Football, but also have had some really bad losses, including being shut out by Carolina. Again, not my favorite bet with both Bosa and Warner out on defense. This San Francisco team just seems to fall apart. I've never seen anything like it with a team. It's not just players getting hurt; it's their top guys getting hurt. But hopefully, like you said, hopefully a few of those guys are coming back this week.
Yeah, this game reminds me of Jacksonville last week, coming off emotional Monday night victory against a team that was declared an upset. You beat a powerhouse AFC team Monday night. Now you have to face an NFC West opponent. And I agree with you. I think I got a 2.5, and so I feel pretty good about that. So 49ers at -2.5. Falcons have been good on prime time. They went into Minnesota and won that game, and they beat Buffalo, so that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, Shanahan off a loss. I like the 49ers at home. Wonder if it's interesting. Wonder if Brock Purdy was secretly a little bit happy that Mac Jones struggled because there were people calling for his job. But
He must have been like, about damn time.
yeah, but yeah, I mean they still have Robert Saleh as D coordinator, so they'll
Might be
still
the
be able
best
to.
one in the league.
Yeah, so if anyone can overcome losses like Warner and Bosa, it'd be him and that staff. So I like 49ers in this spot. Okay, once again, a Monday night doubleheader. Both of these are good games too, especially
And
this
I hate
first
that.
one.
I hate that.
Yeah,
Because
but
they're going to be
difference
on at
is
the same time.
these ones won't. I don't think these ones are. These ones are not. This is like one. I think one of them starts at 6. The other one starts at or 7 Eastern time. The other starts at 10 Eastern time.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So now I don't know if I'm going to be able to stay up that late, but at least the better game is first. So yeah,
Drink your coffee.
arguably the top two teams in the NFC right now. Buccaneers at the Lions. Last I checked, Lions are getting 5.5 points. They're 5.5 point favorites. And I think Detroit gets back on track at home. I think this will finally be the week. I still think Tampa Bay is a good team, and they'll probably bounce back. But I just think this will finally be the week where all these skill position injuries catch up to Tampa. Going into Detroit in prime time after a Detroit loss, I just think this is kind of a bad spot for Tampa, and I would say they're due for a loss to one of these good teams. So, yeah, I have the Lions winning here and covering the 5.5.
This is going to be a lot of fun to watch on Monday night. At this point, it's become the norm for Tampa Bay to have just wild finishes, close games. Look, we all know the trends for Dan Campbell, Jared Goff, and the Lions against the spread. Off a loss, as a favorite, in a night game, at home, you name it, it all points towards them. And I'm in agreement with you on this one. It's a good spot. I actually had it 4.5, which is an even better line for this.
I saw when I looked it
Um,
up this morning. It was 4.5. Then I went to fill my picks. It was 5.5. So I was like,
okay.
yeah, but I'll go ahead and do it.
All right. Now, Brian Branch being suspended, it could hurt them for this game. I know that Tampa Bay's got a good receiver core, and look, Baker's just been.
Well,
I
they
mean, he's
do, but we don't know who's going to play. We don't know.
right,
Uh,
and
Ibuka's out. Could be. We don't know about Evans and Godwin if they'll be back. Potentially, if all three of those guys are out, then the Branch injury might not be too bad.
yeah,
I'm sorry, Branch suspension might not be too bad.
it does seem like a weird game for Tampa Bay going into a dome on the road. It's been they've been riding high for most of this season, winning really close games. This could be like a wake up call for them going up against this beast of a team and the Lions. Baker is 16-8 against the spread as an underdog, but I will bet against that trend because there's just so much more in favor of the Lions right now in this spot. So I agree with you. I'm going Lions in this game. And in our second of the Monday night doubleheaders, we will finish things off with the Houston Texans at the Seattle Seahawks. The home versus road differences for Seattle are glaring. On the road, Seattle is 10-1 straight up and 7-3-1 against the spread under McDonald. At home, they are just 4-8 straight up and 3-9 against the spread. The only coach with a worse home against the spread record in that span, Brian Callahan at 0-10 against the spread, who now doesn't have a job. Anytime a coach is mentioned in the same breath as Brian Callahan, you know it's bad. Give me Houston off a bye week to get things right. Texans taking in the ultimate bye week after not playing in week 6 and playing late on Monday Night Football in week 7. A total of 15 days between games. Teams with that much rest are 20-11 against the spread when playing on the road dating back to 2003. I like this spot for Houston. I like it at plus 3.5, which I'm seeing at perfect spot. I think it's one of my favorite bets of the week.
Yep, I'm in agreement. Total agreement. 3.5. I don't know if they'll win, but I think they'll cover that 3.5 point spread. Houston's defense is still really good. You can say all you want about their offense, but they've had a week off to maybe fix things, and their defense is still elite, and I think they can pressure Darnold and the Seahawks. So, yeah, this should also be a really fun game to watch. Most of the Seahawks games have been fun to watch. It's been fun watching the Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba connection this year. But I think, this is a good spot for Houston as they look to try to chase down the Colts and Jaguars ahead of them in the AFC South. So, give me Texans +3 and a.
Love it. That is our Week 7 picks against the spread. I feel a lot more confident this week, a lot more prepared. Felt like I had more time to research things going into this week, but feel a lot better than last week. We'll definitely bounce back after last week. If you are listening on YouTube, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're growing each and every week. We will have more content coming out this week. I'll get the shorts out. I'll get the segments out, and we'll have plenty of content for you guys as I get out of my honeymoon
Honeymoon
week.
phase. Honeymoon phase.
Yeah, right. Let's get into our college football discussions. We got some time here. I know a lot of podcasts and a lot of college football pundits are getting things kicked off with the Penn State stuff, but I want to start on a positive note, and let's talk about Indiana. The Hoosiers get their best win in program history at Oregon, in my opinion, their best win, sending a message to the Big Ten and the rest of the country. They land at number 3 in the AP poll. They're in the top 5. That's a really cool thing to see. We've never really seen that with IU football, and just the turnaround that Curt Cignetti has done with this IU football program, turning them into a football school, really. And they are a real contender in the college football playoff. I think they really have a good shot. I know we like to overreact to wins. This is a huge one. Going into Eugene, Oregon, getting a win, something that the champions from last year couldn't do in Ohio State.
I think it was the nation's longest home winning streak, I believe.
Yeah. After Georgia had lost theirs, I think Oregon had that home win streak. But man, it's been an incredible run with Curt Cignetti and this team, and he's got the attitude. He's got great interview answers, and he's done a lot for this team. I love Fernando Mendoza at QB. It was a great transfer pickup for them, and I think this team is better than they were last year. And I think the rest of the Big Ten needs to really worry about this team and the rest of the college football playoff bracket, whoever ends up in that.
Yeah, I thought last year they were good, but very, very fraudulent because of their schedule. This year, there's anyone who says they're fraudulent, they're just stupid. I mean, what else do you want them to do? They destroyed an Illinois team at home, ranked Illinois team at home. They went into Iowa and beat them, and that was an ugly game. But most games at Iowa are pretty ugly. But they went in there and got the job done. And then flying out to Eugene, number 3 Oregon, and beating they beat them handily. Like it was a 10-point game. If anyone listened last week, I said we don't do college football bets, but that 7.5-point spread, that is way too much for this Indiana team. They covered. They should have been Indiana minus 7.5. But it's pretty amazing. Indiana's schedule the rest of the way is pretty smooth now that Penn State's no longer anything. It looks like we're destined for Ohio State, Indiana in the Big Ten championship. And the way both these defenses look, I could see a final score of like 10-7 in that game, because Ohio State clearly best defense in the country. But from what I've seen from Indiana, they are directly below that, because they held Oregon to 13 points because the Oregon's defense had a pick 6. So 13 points. It was just one coverage bust that they messed up. And that was it. Yeah, they shut down an elite Oregon offense. So, that defense is talented. Elijah Surratt, you mentioned Mendoza, but his connection with Surratt's a pro. That guy is good. He had 8 catches, 121 yards, and a touchdown in that game against Oregon. So, they're going to be a fun team to watch the rest of the way. Even though I don't know if they'll play another close game this year until the Big Ten championship. But But yeah, they are for sure to be taken seriously and a real threat to win it all.
All right. The other big news, obviously, was Penn State firing James Franklin. Um, this didn't come as a shock to me because they ended up losing to Northwestern by a point at home, becoming the first FBS team in the last 30 years to lose consecutive games of at least being at least a 20-point favorite. Um, just a complete collapse for this Penn State team. Obviously, Drew Aller going down with an injury. I believe he's going to be out for the season, is what I was hearing based off what happened in that game. Just out of nowhere, too. That this was a team that I mentioned at the beginning of the year that had followed pretty much the same formula of the past two national championship teams. Bringing everybody back, bringing in some transfers, having a older team with a lot of experience and a lot of talent too. A great running back room with Singletary and Kage Allen, but something happened. I don't know what it was. I know the loss to Oregon was a tough pill to swallow at home, and a really good spot for them with the bright lights and the whiteout and everything to do with that game. But then to go on the road and lose to UCLA, uh, a winless team, and then to
Yeah,
follow that
that
up with
might
a
not.
Northwestern loss, it's crazy.
The UCLA loss might actually not be bad by the end of the year because they look like a whole new team. They
True.
followed it up. They went on the road and crushed Michigan State. So they are 2-0 with after firing their coach. So I saw something that Michigan. UCLA controls their own path to the college football playoff because I think they play. I think they play IU. They might play Ohio State too. So if they could beat if they beat both of them, they would control their own path. But the Penn State news is the big story. And just before NIL, this would be. I mean, yeah, it'd look horrible that you lost those 3 games, but I mean, a program like Penn State would never fire their head coach mid-season. But now, losing recruits with the NIL issue, you had to let him go, even despite the $50 million buyout or however much that was. So, it'll be interesting to see who they get. One advantage they have is they were the first big program to fire their coach, so that means they will be looking before some of these other programs, like in the SEC, might be looking. Some of the names they're throwing around are ridiculous. Like, why would Signetti leave IU?
No,
IU has
he's
just as
turned
much money.
he's turned IU into a big pro. At this point, there's no reason to leave.
Well, and IU has so many donors too. It's not like, they said that Penn State have more resources, and no, they have a nicer stadium. That's it. But yeah, I'm sure they'll get somebody good. But
Matt Rule does have some ties to that team, and I loved his press conference. He didn't deny his interest in the Penn State job, because to me, the Penn State job is the best one on the market this offseason. So the fact that they will be ahead of other programs and finding their coach is huge, and I think anyone would want this job at Penn State. They have a good program. All right, a couple more things to get to in college football. Ohio State coming off a big win against Illinois, taking care of business against at the time was number 17 team in the nation. They turned 3 takeaways into 21 points to beat Illinois. Just solidifying themselves as the best defense in the country. You mentioned it earlier. At this point, who's scoring? Who's scoring on this Ohio State defense? They made that Washington quarterback. He wasn't able to do anything against this defense. He's been putting up huge numbers. He's just put up like 400 yards passing and like 150 yards rushing against Rutgers last week.
yeah, they should be ranked too. It's ridiculous they're not ranked.
True.
So that just shows SEC bias.
And I almost think Ohio State's, in some ways, they're kind of under the radar because they're just like staying at number 1. There hasn't been, an upset there, and you kind of have a team shuffling within the top 10, and really cool storylines with that. But looking at the rest of Ohio State's schedule, they get Wisconsin, who is in shambles, Penn State, who's in shambles, Purdue, UCLA, which you mentioned is
Never
on the
know.
up and up. You never know. But at Ohio Stadium, I feel pretty good about that one. Rutgers, and then there's the big one, obviously, at the end of the year with Michigan. So they could potentially, at this moment, none of those teams are ranked. Michigan could get themselves back into the top 25, but it's like you said, we could be set up for an
Already,
IU
the
Ohio
story is
State.
already like normally like there's a few contenders for the like last year it was Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Indiana. We didn't really know who was going to end up in the title. It might already just be the two. We might already know the two teams at this point.
Yeah, and Ohio State, I feel like, has just kind of separated themselves from the rest of the pack. I am a homer for the Buckeyes, but I do feel pretty strongly about that and them keeping that number one spot for the rest of this year. And then Texas bounces back in the Red River rivalry, taking down Oklahoma and maybe getting themselves back on track. They pretty much dominated that game. They really the Texas defense, which is one of the better defenses in the country, was able to force John Mateer, the Oklahoma QB, to 3 picks, and he was coming off injury, but still a big win for Texas, and we'll see with the rest of their schedule. I know it's the SEC, but it should be interesting to see if Arch Manning and Sarkisian can get this thing going.
Yeah, not sure if Mateer made the right decision there, but because
Yeah.
he had been good earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Yeah, Arch Manning was okay. His stats were okay, but I thought he played much better than he had. Like he went 21-27,
Yes.
166 yards and a touchdown. High popping stats, but I thought he played really well. Okay, we got a few entertaining games once again, mostly in the SEC. Like this is a big weekend for the SEC. Kicking things off, this might be the first time ever that Vanderbilt is favored against a ranked opponent, and I'm not even kidding. When would they have ever been favored against a ranked opponent? But yeah,
In
they are
basketball.
in basketball, number 7, or baseball, obviously, but they're pretty good at juggernaut baseball. Yeah, 17 Vanderbilt is hosting number 10 LSU, and Vanderbilt is a 2.5-point favorite in that game. So that should be a good one. Top 10 matchup, we have Ole Miss, ranked number 5, at number 9, Georgia. Georgia is a touchdown and a half-point favorites at home. Ole Miss played a pretty uninspiring game against Washington State. The same Washington State team that Washington kicked their teeth in, and for some reason Washington's not ranked. But yeah, Georgia at home. I like them. I like the Bulldogs there. Always a fun one. Tennessee at Alabama. Tennessee's ranked number 11. Alabama's ranked number 6. Alabama's a 7.5-point favorite. Tennessee's ranked, so Alabama should play really well. If Tennessee was unranked, then Alabama would be on upset alert in the Kalen DeBoer era. And big rivalry game. Number 20 USC after a big-time win over Michigan.
Yes.
Not many people saw that result. Maybe some could have called USC beating them, but not the way they did. They are coming to South Bend to take on number 13 Notre Dame. Absolute must win for Notre Dame. Not only if they lose, they're out of the playoffs, but this is one of their only big games left.
Yeah.
So it's a straight resume strength there too.
And Notre Dame to me is better than a lot of the teams ahead of them in the rankings right now because they played 2 really good teams, 2 top 5 teams in Miami and Texas A&M, and they played them close. It came down to the wire in both of those games. You're right. This is a must win. They don't have really any other big games on their schedule. But I think they are playing really well, and I think they are a playoff team. So I would really like them to win this game. One note on Georgia. I don't know if you watched that game against Auburn last weekend, but some of the officiating, I got so tired of watching that game because they're just stoppage and plays and the goal line fumble. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, Auburn's been getting whooped by officials this year. If you recall that Oklahoma game, there was some questionable officiating in that, but yeah, I mean, whatever.
I mean, SEC had to apologize after that call in Oklahoma. Yeah. But yeah, another fun weekend of college football.
One other game, I mean, I've mentioned it's two ranked teams. Battle of the Beehive State, Utah at BYU. If you're looking for a good late
Oh
night
yeah,
game, number 23 Utah is a 3.5 point favorite on the road at number 15 BYU. So yeah, if you like good rivalries,
that's the
late
Holy
night,
War rivalry, right?
yes. So I would tune into that one on Saturday night.
That one's heated. That one gets very testy between those teams. But we got a little bit of time here. We do have MLB playoffs continuing. We're already to the championship series, already a couple games into the championship series, and it looks like the Mariners are going to cook the Toronto Blue Jays in this series. They
For those
absolutely
first two games,
destroyed
yeah,
them,
you
taking
can't
the two at Toronto, and then it's going to be interesting to see if Toronto can respond. But after the Blue Jays just dismantling of the Yankees, you thought this was going to be absolute cinema between the Mariners and Blue Jays, but the Mariners have dominated. And then on the other side, we got the Dodgers at the Brewers. Pretty good game one where a questionable decision by Bryce Terang to not get the
yeah, should
hit
have
by the
got.
pitch.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
you
what
know,
that was. Classic human instincts tells
yeah,
you fast object coming at me, get out of the way. But that was not the
Yeah,
right decision.
self-preservation came into play there, and he should have just ate it for the team. But the Dodgers do go up in that series. So
Blake Snell pitched a game of pitched
a
an
gem,
insane game. Yeah,
absolute gem from him, and so I think we might be headed towards Mariners, Dodgers. Mariners would it be their first World Series appearance in their franchise history, so a lot of fun baseball coming up in these playoffs. But yeah, fun stuff. What are your thoughts on the playoffs so far?
Really entertaining. You saw the Brewers double play, I guess, yesterday. That was pretty cool too. um, yeah, I guess my Dodgers pick, which really didn't require much thinking, is still alive. Um, yeah, it's pretty amazing that you win the World Series and you're able to sign Blake Snell in the offseason. But but
MLB contracts.
MLB contracts, yeah, but yeah, that Brewers Cubs series was really entertaining. That was a fun one to watch. I thought the Cubs were going to win that series. Just classic Brewers, just kind of choking in the playoffs, but Brewers were able to pull that one out. And yeah, that Yankees Blue Jays. I was pretty surprised by the way the Yankees were losing those games. Like
Yeah,
they were kind of exposed a little bit.
you listen to A-Rod and Jeter on the studio set, and they talked about the roster construction of this team, and it's a lot of power guys. It's a lot of like either home runs or bust, and that's how they've won a lot of games this season. It's how they were going to have to lean into it in the playoffs. It's just not the way it happens in the playoffs. There's a lot more small ball. There's a lot of bunting, moving guys over, getting sacrifice flies, putting balls in play. It's just not the way to win for the Yankees. And obviously, if they'd had Garrett Cole, that would have helped as well in the pitching staff front. But yeah, a tough.
Tigers Mariners game too. That was that clinching game.
I was watching that game on the flight. So we had a connecting flight from coming back into the States from Miami to Philly. And I was watching that game that night, and I couldn't even finish it. We were getting off the plane. Like I started that at like 7, and it goes 15 innings because neither team can get a run off of these pitching staffs. Just beautifully pitched game by both. They would get into jams and they'd be able to pitch out of them. Just incredible game between the Mariners and Tigers that game 5.
Yeah, that was, and like both those teams, you could say overachieved this year. So, like that was just beautiful baseball. Like I'm sure the Tigers are mad they lost, but it was like what a great game. Like we had a good season. I'm sure the Mariners would have felt the way too. Like it sucks we lost, but
Yeah,
we played an all-time classic in the postseason, and just that's the way it goes. But yeah, Mariners look like a juggernaut right now in the AL.
well, we will be back next week for more picks, more discussions in college football, and probably recapping the AL and NLCS for the MLB. But that'll do it for us here at the K&L Sports Huddle. I'm Kage Kiplinger. That's Logan Hubert. We'll see you next week, y'all.